Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of the Comet Beater project. In this episode I'm going to be replacing my blinker housing for the left blinker because it did not match the right one. The right one has this chrome bezel on here and the left one did not. The left one was from a Ford Maverick and this is a Mercury Comet, and that's one of the only differences on these cars is those blinkers. And I thought I could just order a new one, which I got new old stock, but this is the new old stock one that came, right? And it just sort of fits in there like that, and there you go. There's no place for the, right on top of here there's supposed to be this for the headlight, and there's not. So I took that out. And I thought, okay, well, we'll just use the old one and just slide it right in there, right? Wrong. The studs on the end of this do not fit in the holes on the back of that. So, I've got my drill, and I've got my hands ready to be praying here that I don't break this crusty old plastic by drilling through it just a little bit on both sides so that this will slide into there without a problem. So that's what I'm going to do here. Once again, I'm not going to be able to record it because I don't have 3 hands. But before you're wondering, this seems like an awful, tiny little task to put into a video instead of doing something more important like the carb or the radiator. Well, unfortunately, I did the carb already off of camera because I'd never done one before. And I didn't want to screw up like I did with the transmission on the olds and just do a bunch of incorrect information and wrong terminology. This is supposed to be a helpful how-to kind of channel, or and a vlog channel, I suppose. But that transmission series was just a train wreck. I was incorrect on most of the terms. I didn't know what the hell I was doing half the time. So I was trying to be better and just do it off camera. But I will tell you, it wasn't that complicated. The instructions were pretty clear. If you've ever assembled a carburetor before in your life, you should probably be able to do it. It was a very simple process. The only thing I will note is that it was very odd. Everything that you would expect on like a Rochester quadjet, dual jet, unijet was upside down. I don't know if that's just the YF series Carter carbs, which is what this is, or if that's most Ford carbs or all Carter carbs, who the hell knows. But everything was upside down. The float mounted to the air horn, the bottom of the air horn. The accelerator pump was upside down. You have to take the whole carb apart to get to the goddamn accelerator pump. It's not like a 2100 auto light that's on the Mercury where you can just take it off right there without even removing the carb. You got to take everything out. The bowl, the float bowl section of the carb is where the accelerator pump is, and you have to take it out. It's held in by 4 screws. And even the needle and seat, the needle mounts going up with the rubber piece pointed up into the seat, which is hanging down upside down. It's a very odd configuration. I wish I could have made a video on it because it was quite interesting to figure out. But it didn't take very long. It took me probably 30 minutes after I cleaned everything, which it was pretty dirty. There was a bunch of crusty rust, crud in the bowl, and the filter was completely clogged. So there's a new filter on it. Everything's been cleaned out. I'm sure that there's a bunch of crap in the gas tank. The gas smelled foul. It's horrible. This car's been sitting for 2 years in someone's driveway. That gas is definitely varnished by now. So the car isn't running very well. It misses like a son of a bitch. I had some choke issues, so I had to take it apart again and figure it out. I got the incorrect choke tube on there because I don't have the original one, so I had to make one out of some brake tubing and rubber hose. And it seems to be working pretty good now, but it's not factory, so it's not great. The plugs are probably fouled. I haven't checked them yet. That's all kind of just stuff that I wanted to get it running, and it's running. It's not running great, but it's running. In other news, the master cylinder is bad. I drove it around the lawn after I got the front brakes all back together. I had to reuse the old drums because the new drums, the center board was too small for the hub, and they don't make the big ones anymore because what probably happened is this was a disc brake car, or a disc brake front end, that they took off of a newer Maverick and threw onto this one when this one got hit. Because this has the hubs of a 74 through 79 Maverick, but this is a 72 Maverick, or 72 Comet. So obviously something got screwed up there. This is supposed to be a disc brake, but it's got the spindle of a drum. I don't know what the hell happened. But the wheel bearing, you know, hub assembly is from a 74 and up, which is when they had disc brakes. So I had to reuse the old drums, but it actually stopped pretty decent when it still stopped. The master cylinder is a classic, you know, sign. People ask, how do you know it's bad? I had a master cylinder go bad on my Monterey. Same deal. You hit the brakes and it feels fine, but as you're driving down the road and you hit the brakes again, the pedal will slowly start to descend to the floor. You might hear a hissing sound, but that's usually a booster failure as well. This one doesn't have a booster, but slowly descends to the floor until it completely bottoms out. You have no brakes, and your brake light comes on, which is a sign of no pressure in the system. So I looked all around for leaks. I had someone stand in the car and just put their foot on the brake and pump it continuously, looking for leaks all the way down. Found no leaks. So that is the pretty much the final nail in the coffin for that master cylinder. So I'll be replacing that. Shouldn't be too hard to do or get. It looks like a standard Ford master cylinder, and there's only 2 bolts, one there and one on the other side, and these 2 brake line hoses right there, which sometimes break off, but those ones look like they're in pretty good shape, so it shouldn't be too bad. Really shouldn't take all that long, and I should be able to get. Honestly, I think the auto parts stores might have that in stock. That's a very common dual chamber master cylinder that probably all the Fords in the 70s had. Anyway, it's got an air cleaner now. Didn't do that. I didn't have that in the last video, I don't think. So that's on there now. Fit perfect. It's a low profile one for the, you know, high sitting Carter YF. Yeah. So now that that update's out of the way, so I don't have to answer a bunch of questions in the comments or deal with confusion, I will do this blinker housing and see how she goes. So let me just set you down here and we'll get it taken care of. Well, I'd say that went pretty well. My drill was kind of getting weak there at the end, but I was able to drill both of them out, just a tad. There's all the crap on the floor with it, you know, all the plastic. It didn't crack or break. It's actually quite robust. But I did test fit it to see if it would go on before I picked up the camera again. And it does go on. Fits just in there, just like that. It doesn't bottom out all the way down to it, but if you look on the actual light, it's touching the bezel in there. So I guess that's that, right? So how am I going to get this to go on the car now? Since the original one here was tethered on by these 2 posts, this one I had to snap off, and then it was like some kind of epoxy was put on the outsides of it to keep it in there. I'm going to have to use a couple of bolts and wing nuts that I've got right there, because if you look at the other side, the factory did wing nuts and Phillips head screws. So that's what we're going to do, but I don't have any Phillips head screws, so we're going to use some 11mm or half-inch bolts. I thought they were 11mm, but I guess not. So, without further ado, let's get this thing in there, huh? We'll just, these posts got to go up in those upper holes there. And then the lower one is where we're going to stick our, there we go. It's in there. Now I'll just put the wing nuts in there and call her good. Of course, my brain didn't think far enough ahead here. These are too damn big to fit through the holes on the bezel. And because this is metal, we're not going to be able to drill through that, especially with a dead drill. So I'm going to have to find some skinnier bolts and nuts, because these are the smallest wing nuts I have, so we'll just have to go with nuts. And unfortunately, I have reached kind of the threshold. I'm trying not to make videos longer than 10 minutes because people get bored and click off. So I've found that 6 minutes is really like the median of the happy median of where you want it to be. So I'm gonna end this video here, but I assure you in the next video I will have that blinker light housing in there, and it'll look great. So I will see you in the next update, probably after I get my master cylinder done, and maybe even the radiator. So see you then.